Good afternoon, welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is the special city council meeting, Tuesday, March 24th, 2026. Call the meeting to order. Do we need a roll call? No? Okay. The one item on the agenda is a public hearing regarding the fiscal year 2027 property tax levy. Do we have a presentation?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So to start this presentation, I wanted to address the property tax mailing that went out from the county. This was last week. And so this mailing described the proposed property tax levy for not just the city, for the county also, and for the school districts. So I just wanted to summarize here the changes. So this is from fiscal year 26 to 27. So as you can see on the slide, the city and the county and the Linmar School districts levies are all proposed to go down, with Marion's just around 35 cents, and then with Marion Independent and the Cedar Rapids School District increasing. We have also included here on the slide the dates of the public hearings for the other jurisdictions for the reference for our residents if they would like to attend for Cedar Rapids, for Marion, for Linmar, and for Lynn County there. So we wanted to compute this all together on the form that our residents received. So this was separate. So we wanted to put this together to see on the one slide what the combined proposed rates were, dependent on which school district that you live in. So this compares fiscal year 26 to 27. And as you can see here, Linmar combined a decrease of just over 35 cents, Marion Independent just over 33 cents, a decrease, on Cedar Rapids School District within Marion just over 1 cent decrease. It's also worth to note here that the rates that were published on that mailing, this did not include the Kirkwood College levy and some other special levies, which last year amounted to just over $1.73. So a small amount, but it did include the majority of the levies on that mailing. So maybe a reminder for some, or maybe the first time that people have seen this. This is how the property taxes are calculated in Iowa. You're not taxed on your full assessed valuation. This is multiplied by a rollback rate, which is a percentage determined by the Iowa Department of Management. Then it's divided by 1,000 and then multiplied by the levy rate. And so the residential rollback this year decreased from 47.3% to 44.54%. This is fairly common in a reassessment year by the county, which we'll talk about more later. The commercial rollback, that's fixed at 90%, with the first $150,000 of commercial valuation taxed at the residential rollback rate. We're kind of putting all of this together. This slide shows the effect of the rate decrease and the rollback decrease. This slide does assume that the valuations remain the same, just for consistency purposes, so that we can show here on the slide, because with a reassessment year, everybody's properties would fluctuate in value. But if your valuation was the same, this shows that with the rollback and the property tax levy rate, that for the Linmar School District would show a decrease of 7% in your property taxes. For Marion Independent, also a decrease of 7%, and Cedar Rapids School District, a decrease of 6%. It's worth to note that this is taking into account your property tax valuation as of January 1st, 2025, which then impacts the fiscal year 27 budget year, which is your taxes due in September of this year and March of next year. So this is now focusing on the City of Marion's property tax levy as proposed. And so I'll go down a few of these. The regular levy under the general fund covers the operations of the general fund, police, fire, so public safety, parks and recreation, library, and general government. This levy is proposed to decrease. That's that first levy rate there is proposed to decrease by just over 23 cents. Even with our taxable growth of about 8.9%, there is a revenue limitation imposed by the state, and so for this portion of the levy, our revenue has increased by 5.7%. Then the transit levy, it's a pass-through, so this is for our services that for our transit that the City of Cedar Rapids provides for us, and also Horizons services. And then we have our liability, property and self-insurance levy. That's our liability and property insurance to cover all of our city buildings and our liability coverage. These costs, as most people know, tend to increase each year. Then moving down to the employee benefits levy, we have the police and fire retirement system. This is dictated by the state. We have FICA and IPERS, which is our payroll taxes and our state pension contributions. And then we have other employee benefits levy, that's the one here that does have an increase, with the biggest factor on that being our health insurance, also Chapter 411 disability payments for police and fire, open enrollment changes, and then a couple of new positions. And then the debt service levy, which we'll talk about in a moment, does show a decrease of nearly 24 cents. So this is just a summary of that other employee benefits levy, since it's not laid out here on that previous form. So just for reference, health and dental, again, being the largest makeup of the other employee benefits levy. So moving on to the debt service levy, this is the one that we are proposing a decrease this year. And so this is a slide that we showed in December. And this is a debt service levy projection. We work with D.A. Davidson on all of our financial models. So this is one that they worked on for our debt service levy projections. So this is takes into account our outstanding GO debt issuance. And so the orange line you can see here is our current debt levy rate. And so this projects out for 5 years. And the blue bars are our current outstanding GO debt issuances. And then the light green in the future is our planned annual CIP debt issuances for our capital improvement program. So you'll see that there's no green bar there for 27. That is because we are proposing that we are not issuing that we would not issue any debt for our projects in fiscal year 27. So this is a contributing factor to our debt service levy decrease of 23 cents down to $2.42. So if you want to know more detail, here's kind of the breakdown. So our debt service levy is our expenditures that make up our principal and interest payments on our bonds. So comparing fiscal year 26, we had 11.46 million in debt service expenditures, and then that reduction into fiscal year 27 of just over 9 million. Now, not all of our debt service expenditures comes off the debt service levy. There are some abatements that do reduce the total expenditures impacting the levy rate. And so they're shown on the screen here with tax increment financing being a very common abatement from the debt service levy. We did restructure some TIF debt in fiscal year 25. So that shows an increased abatement here, and that contributes to the overall decrease of our debt service levy rate of 23.977%. Cent, not percent. And just as a note, that the planned no new debt issuance in fiscal year 27. So then we wanted to show the impact. This is just for the city portions of the property tax levy. And so this is the residential impact. Again, this is assuming a fixed assessed valuation. And if we look at the $300,000 assessed valuation in that middle table, we can see that the city portion of the property taxes would have an estimated decrease of $176. Then commercial, again, fixed assessed valuation assumptions. This would show a commercial property, as an example, at $1 million, showing a decrease in property taxes of $357. So as I mentioned before, this is a reassessment year. And so we like to show these slides here to show the impact. This is just for residential. So the first table here shows the impact of the rollbacks. So this is assuming if your taxable valuation stayed the same, your assessed valuation of your property would have had to increase by 6.51%. And then maybe the most valuable, given it's a reassessment year, is the second table. So this, if your property taxes were to stay the same from last year to this proposed fiscal year, so you can see that annual change on the right-hand side fixed at 0, so no change for your property taxes. Given the effect of the tax rate and given the effect of the rollback, your assessed valuation would have had to grow by just over 9% to see that no change in your property taxes. So hopefully that's beneficial for some people to see it that way. So then that's it. I just want to do it. If Ryan had anything to add, or
Anything to add, or we go to questions?
I do, Mayor, if I can, just thank you, Brian. Just, I think it's important, why are we here? This is a couple of years ago, the state did some amendments to the property tax laws and mandated that a separate hearing be done on just the property tax rate. So that is what's being done today. As council knows, we have a year-long process with our budget development that includes multiple touch points with the city council during the council meetings to discuss issues and seek direction from the city council on the various priorities. And so during the course of the year, staff is working with the council on gathering that data to help inform the budget process. As a reminder, we do continue to use the zero-based budgeting process. So throughout this timeline, we're working with the departments on building the budgets based on the needs of the community. And that all concludes at the end of January, where the city council has their day-long budget work session. And that is where all those actions and discussions and directions throughout the year, we get the final direction from the city council that goes into the budget forms that the state puts out. And that's important because that's what actually spits out the rate. So we need to understand what those expenses are in order to determine what that rate is. I do think it's important. Council had quite a few conversations on the debt service levy throughout the year. that the council's direction was to not issue any debt. The bonding is used to fund capital projects. It does not, and this is an important point, it does not fund anything operational. And that through strategic planning and the revisions that we've made to the budgeting process, including the capital, the CIP program and how we prioritize the projects, the council was able to make the decision to not issue any new debt this year. So as Brian pointed out, so that's an important point we want to highlight. So again, this is just one step of a longer process. The next meeting is April 23rd. That's when the council will have a public hearing on the entirety of the budget. So this is just one aspect that has been mandated by state code. So with that, Mayor, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. We'll take questions. I just have one. I think you've shared this before, but I think it's good to have it repeated. What percentage of the total tax bill approximately is the city's portion?
Approximately about 35%.
35% of the total of my total tax bill would be because of the city's levies. Okay. Questions?
Public hearing.
Oh, so yes, but so we're not having discussion today. It's just public hearing.
This is
Public hearing is open. If anyone is here to address council on this matter, please come forward.
Yeah, Mayor, there is another item that, so after the public hearing, we have to go to another meeting to set the public hearing for the April 23rd date.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
And one other thing, really quick, the mailer that went out, I know our team, when this was enacted, I think two or 3 years ago, the mailer does generate confusion. And our staff does receive a lot of calls about what is it, why is it written this way? I know that there's been some efforts at the state level to try to simplify and make it more easy to understand. But our team in the finance department have fielded a number of calls and did their best to kind of walk through. But that mailing is sent out by the county and is a requirement of state law, just as this hearing is. So a little context.
Thank you. Okay, the public hearing is still open. If anyone is here to address council, please come forward. Please come forward. I would also like to review the rules for public forum. If you're addressing the council today, please step up to the microphone, state your name and address, and fill out the yellow card and hand it to the city clerk. Please do not approach the dais where the council is sitting. If you have handouts or materials, please give them to the city clerk to distribute to the council. Please speak into the microphone as the meeting is recorded. Everyone is allotted 5 minutes to make their comments. Please do not engage in any conduct or speech that is imminently threatening to any person, or which incites violence, or which is obscene. Please do not make disparaging remarks regarding any individual, but keep your comments pertinent to the topic. Please avoid repeating comments or points made by prior speakers. Please do not engage in conduct that disrupts the orderly progress of the meeting, or engage in speech or conduct which interferes with the other people's ability to participate in the meeting, and failure to adhere to the guidelines or engaging in any disruptive speech or behavior will, after a warning, result in removal from the meeting. Thank you for cooperation and adhering to those guidelines. Please come forward, sir, if you're ready to address council. Yes. Okay, if you would hand the yellow card to the clerk and then make your remarks. Yes. Thank you very much.
Oh, good afternoon. I'm basically here to start with the question. My name is Dan Hoover. I live at 2125 Catherine Court in Marion. And in the example that got sent to our homes, they had a current tax rate, a proposed tax rate, and an effective rate. But it didn't say what the proposed effective rate was going to be. Is that information available?
So under the proposed, so the three columns that you were talking about was a current rate, which is our fiscal year 26 rate that we're in right now. Then the last column is our proposed fiscal year 27 rate.
That's
So
the effective rate?
that's the proposed rate.
Okay, what's the difference between a proposed
So the-
rate and an effective
Yeah.
rate?
So the effective rate is the confusing one. That rate is the one, if we had levied for the same amount of tax dollars as we did in fiscal year 26, that's what the property tax rate would have been. It is confusing because it's not our proposed rate. So,
Who calculates that? Is the state calculated the effective rate?
so our revenue did go up because of our growth, because of our taxable valuation growth. Then the state limits that growth. It was 8.9%, then the state limits it. So our revenue did go up by 5.7%. But what that effective tax rate is saying, if we decided not to increase our revenue by the property taxes, then that's what our property tax rate. So the effective rate was a lot lower than you.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So
Yes, it was.
it's confusing because, as like Ryan shared, so ongoing costs, everything, I mean, Ryan can share, we do have to set the public hearing for the budget, but, ongoing costs of, like our increase in staff and staff increases and I mean, ongoing costs across our insurances and everything that but that effective rate is saying we are not taking any more revenue in as our property taxes. I know it's confusing, but
That's not, we don't calculate that. That's a calculation that's done at the state level.
it's
Okay.
just for
So,
comparison.
yeah, and so the form that you're referring to and how it's divided up, the state has dictated to the counties as to what needs to be included. And that's a calculation that we don't do, that the county or the state does and would put in that form. So we don't have that. We can talk afterwards to see if there's a way we can talk to others that can get that, but that is not a calculation that we've got. But
Well, I just wanted to make sure I had at least a little bit of an understanding of where that is, because it's a little bit confusing. It'd be nice if things were a little more clear for those of us that aren't quite so close to the topic. I guess I looked a little bit and I saw Marion's been growing by about 220 houses a year. It has been for some time. That would seem at about $300,000 a house, that'd be bringing in about $1 million worth of tax revenue a year. Of course, the first year, there's no taxes. The second years, it's half. And the third year is when it comes in all the way, right? Same token, the Marion residences haven't been going down in value. They've been going up. From what I could see, it looked like it was about at the rate of inflation, maybe just a little bit more, which is also increasing revenue. So for those of us who don't have the ability to go and tax anybody to get our expenses covered or our desirements or our wishes covered, I think it's a bad time for Marion to be increasing tax rates in addition to the valuation of properties. So I guess that's my main point.
But our rate is going down by 35 cents per thousand, so we're not increasing tax rates, just so that's clear.
Well, that's why I was trying to get what that effective rate was, because it looked to me like the effective rate was going one way and the actual rate was going up.
Up on the slide there, so our rate, is the top one.
Okay,
So it's $14.89, you see 89,684. So that's what the current rate is this year. The proposed, so fiscal year 27 starts July 1st of 2026. So the rate is proposed to go down to $14.54.
well, then I need that yellow card back.
So,
Because I thought it had.
yeah, one other point, and this is a topic that's being debated in Des Moines on property taxes. One of the things, the city has no involvement in the assessment process whatsoever. That is determined by an assessor to determine the value of the properties. This is an assessment year. So that is something completely outside the control of the city.
And that I do understand.
Yeah, okay. Thank
That I do
you.
understand. But anyway, I do
desire to do that.
Yeah. Anyone else to address council? Yes, please come forward. Yeah, it is important to reiterate that 35% of the total tax bill is attributable to the city. The rest of it, the city has no control over. The assessed value, the city has no control over. The rollback that the state uses to apply to the valuation to determine the taxes, that's the city has no control over. So it's not all within the control of the city yet. Anyway, so it's important to make that point. Go ahead, Charlie.
Good afternoon, Marion, members of the council. This whole tax thing, there's kind of a fun formula. There's the 5 pieces that make up the property tax and their levies. There's the actual, what they say your house is worth, and then there's the rollback feature. So what I'm trying to figure out, which property taxes are getting used? Are my property taxes going to go up this year or under this, or is that going to stable in my property tax that I got where my value of my house went up? The latest thing I got last, is that one going to be used this year? Or is that being used next year? That's my first question. Which one of those property valuations are being used? The most newest one I got or the present one?
If you did just receive one for January 1st, 2026, that is not the one that will be
Okay,
used for
that's my
fiscal year
first
27.
question. Okay, the second question is, if I use the property tax that was in existence, these numbers that are you showing up here and the rollbacks that the state came out in, I think in November, is my tax going to go up or down? Because there's 3 parts that you got to put together. So if I do that multiplication, what do you think? Is my property tax going to go up or down this year?
So that does depend on the assessed value. So as Ryan said, that's something that we can't control, but that slide that I shared, it's about 9%. So if for the city portion, so that 35% that the mayor was saying, if your property went up by about 9% in assessed value, then your property taxes for the city should stay about the same.
But you basically said, I don't have to worry about my property tax, my valuation of my house going up this year. So that's going to stay stable.
No.
And is the rollback higher or lower this year?
So the rollback is lower. So
So if I have more taxable, more property being taxed or less property being taxed?
so for fiscal year 27, which was your assessed value as of January 1st, 2025, so that was a reassessment year.
That's it.
So your taxable valuation may have gone up or down
Well,
because
let's
it's
say
a
a house is
reassessment.
200,000 and it's still 200,000. Is my tax going to go up or down with the new rollback?
With the new rollback, it would go down if your assessed value stayed the same.
Okay, that's my question.
And it's important to note, though, that Mr. Knutson, that the city is only 35% of the taxing district, so depending on.
Most for
Right.
me.
Yep. So this is a slide that we've used throughout the year as part of the budget process. So when council is considering decisions, they're looking at what is the impact to the residential side of things. And we try our best because not all the properties are the same. So it will depend on how your individual properties are. And
The thing that my question has been answered, but I got a statement. The thing would be nice if you could figure out a way when you talk to people about what's going on with these levies is to you can find a way that you can really explain that formula that uses how your property tax and how that rolled back and then the levy, there's those parts and how to use them. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to address council, please come forward.
Anthony May. I'm at 1100 Plumwood Court, northeast in Cedar Rapids, but it's a Marion address. We have three basic topics. The first just being a question, what is TIF?
Tax increment financing. It's an economic development tool.
The last word was financing?
Yep.
Okay, that definition should have been in the mailing. Because it's brought up at least, I think at least 2 times.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering, they showed some of the justifications or reasons for the increases. And just one of the categories, and I should have brought the sheet up with me today.
Mayor, well, while he's getting his sheet, I've started a list of notes that we will work to communicate back to the county on suggestions for the future mailer. So TIF, and then the comment about effective rate, to see if there's an effective rate that can be done looking forward.
That's a good point, that we have to communicate these things to the county who actually puts that together. Okay,
Oh, this is not your letter.
it comes from the county, sir.
Okay, I
Yeah.
got you. I got you. Okay, so I guess it is for the city of Marion. They had staffing additions of things that looked like they all had to do with police type things. 9/11, communication operators, police management analysts, and communication specialists. Is there any reason why any of the other ones wouldn't have had that? I guess you're just responsible for your.
That's accurate. It's the other sections, those are up to those respective taxing bodies. We are not involved in their budgeting process.
Okay. Would you, well, it seems like maybe the others stayed kind of vague, let's say, and you got more specific. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
But
But yes, there are two, we have a need for 2 additional dispatchers. Currently, we have one dispatcher in our dispatch center. So to handle the increase in call volume, we needed to increase by 2. So 2 public safety dispatchers. So if you call 911, those are the people that are going to answer. And then the management analyst in the police department to assist for a lot of just different policy reviews and accreditation process. And then the communication specialist, that is being funded primarily through hotel motel tax. The only portion that impacts the property tax would be the pension and benefit levy. So when you hire somebody, there's a healthcare cost. So that's why that one's on there.
okay. Now, this is kind of philosophical, and with the backdrop of all the things you said of how much you are not involved with this whole situation, I'm just wondering the impact of a school voucher on the taxes that will end up going to the school for school purposes. Is nobody going to see any benefit from that until, like, say, for instance, if they would have so much influx of the private school sector that a school would have to close? That would be the only time you would see any tax change on something like that?
I'm sorry. Sorry, I didn't have my mic on. That is something that we are not aware of. The city council is not as part of any of those discussions. On that document, though, there should be when the public hearings are for the respective school districts. So I don't know what school district you reside in, but Marion's is March 30th at 4:30, and Linmar's is March 30th at 6:30. I mean, we're certainly happy to relay your question onto our peers, but those would be the public hearings for those taxing bodies, which they would be able to answer those
So
questions.
it's on this sheet?
It should be on that sheet. If we can talk to you
Okay.
afterwards and highlight that for you.
Okay.
And we're certainly happy. We touch base with the school districts on a regular basis, so we're happy to relay that on to them as well.
Okay. And I'm in that category of, we've gotten from raising two children, we've had 1 year of school benefit from the public school system. And so I'm very much into not putting taxes towards that direction. So.
Anyone else to address council? Yeah, it is important to note that the school districts are their own taxing bodies. They have their own legislative bodies that make those determinations. And their right to tax comes from the state law. So it's not something that's determined locally. And their tax levy rate applies to property, so I'm not sure how that interfaces or interacts with the voucher system. So, but again, I think those questions could be answered at their public hearings, their separate public hearings that are being held. So, anyone else to address council, please come forward. I'd like to ask the city clerk if we received comments outside the meeting.
Yes, we received one email or a letter, sorry, in advance of the meeting from Rose Gorton, and she wrote that she does not support increase in property tax rate. And the letter was sent to each taxing district.
Sure. Okay. So that'll be part of the record. Okay. Anyone else to address council before we end the public hearing? Please come forward. Would you mind coming back to the microphone, sir? Because the meeting is recorded, so we'd like to have your comments at the microphone. Thank you.
I guess I would like to reflect that exact same comment as Mrs. Gordon.
Thank you. Anyone else to address council, please come forward. Okay, we'll close the public hearing. We thank you for your engagement and for being here and for your comments. If there's nothing else on the agenda, so we will adjourn the meeting and then proceed to our second part of the special session. We'll call that meeting to order. Again, we don't need a roll call, okay? Will someone please make the motion?
Your Honor, I will.
Go ahead.
Okay. Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 32791, setting date of public hearing for April 23rd, 2026, regarding the proposed fiscal year 2027 budget.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 32791, setting the date of public hearing for April 23rd, 2026 for the proposed fiscal year 2027 budget. Do we have any discussion? Questions for staff? Okay. No discussion? All right, then we will vote. All those in favor of approving resolution number 32791, setting the public hearing date, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying no. The motion is approved. That brings us to the conclusion of the special session. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you for joining us.